YouTube, what the crap is going on? Welcome to the scenic Italic lowlands of Rome Total War. Well, I say scenic as best as the graphics could do back in this day. Let me first say sorry that I'm not bringing you a special Patchy's Stories and Traditions for New Year's. I wanted to do it, I really did, and I just couldn't get the right people to help me do it because that is definitely more than a one-man operation. And due to some timing, some other things that work out, it didn't work. However, I figured since I can't bring you Patchy's New Year's stories and traditions, maybe I would ring in the new year by ringing in the old, which is Rome Total War, which is about to be the new, which is Rome 2 Total War. So I figured we could have some fun flashbacks to Rome Total War. So let me show you the armies. My opponent is playing as Macedon. He was a rather new player, and I think I have some interesting footage for you. I've actually got two battles. Both of them are Carthage versus Macedon, and both of them are very different. I'll let you see what happens in these battles. But I think that this is a great opportunity for me to talk a little bit of strategy and also get you all to thinking about the new game that's coming out. And it probably won't be anything like this one, though, is my guess. But I think that the strategy is going to remain the same across Total War, which is understanding which units do well in which scenarios, and then also understanding unit statistics. And that's an important part of being a better player in Total War. So statistically speaking, Carthage is superior to Macedon in infantry in this game. So a Royal Pikeman is inferior to a Sacred Band Pikeman of the same level of upgrades. So yes, the Royal Pikemen have lower stats, they do have more men, but it's my finding that Sacred Band Pikemen are absolutely superior to Royal Pikemen of the same upgrades. Macedon, though, does win the missile advantage. They have archers and Cretan archers, which are superior to Carthage, and then their cavalry is probably equivalent. However, they do have a wider selection of cavalry, it seems, in some ways. They have light lancers, which are a cheap lancer with a high attack, and then they've also got companion cav. However, Sacred Band cav tends to do better in a knockout, drag-out fight, whereas the companion cav tends to do better in a charging fight. So I find that the two factions are interestingly balanced. However, as the Macedonian player, you're going to be at a big disadvantage when it comes to infantry. That's one of the main things that you've got to make up for. Well, there's a number of ways you can do that. You can do it with your missiles, and you can also do it with your cavalry. The easiest way to do it is with missiles. However, if the Carthaginian player successfully rushes you, your missiles are not going to be able to do the damage that they need to. If you see a Carthaginian player willing to skirmish, definitely skirmish with him, as you can probably win it. In this case, however, I've bought 4 Balearic Slingers, which outrange standard archers, so the only way the Macedonian player would have an advantage is by bringing Cretan archers, which are quite expensive, which then means he probably can't spend as much on his infantry and his cav. However, if I had spent a lot of money on my Balearic Slingers and my opponent had brought a rush army, then equally I would have been at a disadvantage. So it kind of goes both ways. Regular archers are very cheap, regular slingers are very cheap, Cretan archers and Balearic Slingers are both very expensive, but can be used to devastating effect. Balearic Slingers outrange standard archers, as I said, however Cretan archers will definitely outrange Balearic Slingers, and so will Archer Auxilia and any other special bow unit that has the very long-range missiles. Here you can see the duel here, and Slingers will destroy archers pretty badly at close range. Balearic Slingers can destroy them from long range. So you can see my Slingers are going to have no problem. There's only 4 units of them. They're going to easily wipe out these archers. And part of that is probably due to the height advantage. My opponent did pick a very poor place to deploy. But again, I'm not trying to be mean to him. I'm just using this as a strategy thing. My opponent was, as I could tell, quite new to the game, as he was asking me a few questions as we went through, and I tried to give him a couple of little bits of advice. The reason I'm sitting back and having the missile duel is I paid so much for my Balearic Slingers, I might as well use them. But let me show you something. My units here have the 6 upgrade flags. You can see the little small flags. That indicates an upgrade. That means my guys are most likely gold, or it's like 3 experience chevrons and 3 of something else. So in any case, I feel confident in the fight, so even though he has 6 units and I have 5, you're going to see me march right on forward without any worry because his guys only have 3 upgrades, which means that pound for pound, my Sacred Band were already better than his, and now they're going to be extremely better than his. So let's watch the results of this ensuing fight. I have 80 men versus his 122. Here they're going to lock Sarissas versus dories. I guess my guys would be carrying a dory, although it almost looks like a smaller Sarissa. In any case, my guys are going to start locking in here. You're going to see the numbers. Look at the Sacred Band unit here, Royal Pikeman just gets absolutely shredded. This is a no contest whatsoever. That unit went down to half strength in an alarming amount of time, and my guys have not lost a single man. Not a single man. So that's how substantially better Sacred Band pikemen are than Royal pikemen. Another tip that I'll give you is when you know your pikemen are better than the enemy pikemen, do not leave them in guard formation. Take them out of guard formation and they'll push forward like my pikemen did there and slaughter the enemy faster. If your pikemen are not as good as the enemy pikemen, I would recommend leaving them on guard formation, which makes them play slightly more defensive and makes them last a little bit longer. Here my opponent springs a Cavalry Trap, which is good thinking, good tactical thinking. However, again, his guys don't have many upgrades, and this is probably because my opponent just doesn't understand the game very well. I'm going to run away from his Cav Horde, which would have defeated my men, and lure my opponent back into my spears, which he is not able to react properly in time, and his cavalry are going to be slaughtered in the face of my hoplites. Again, my opponent's new, but if you are rather new to Rome, or to Total War games in general, this illustrates a good point, which is you can spring a trap, but be careful not to be lured back into another trap, and you have to be quick with your micro, which is tough. When you bring a cavalry horde, it gets tough to contain the micromanagement of that cavalry horde. So I usually suggest that whenever you're using cavalry, make sure you bring an amount of cavalry that you can actually control properly. Because if you can't control the cavalry you have out there, even though you have a lot of it, it's going to end up being ineffective. And even if it's Rome Total War or Shogun 2 Total War, the upgrades on your units make a huge difference in the battle. Now in Rome, of course, you just upgrade attack and defense as part of the screen. And on Shogun 2, you choose those upgrades that you want in the order that you want as your unit gains experience. Slightly different system, but in the end, it's the net same effect. Here's my Sacred Band Cav charging his general, who's trying to get away, but they're going to be caught and engaged. This is a 2-hit point general unit, which is going to be pretty powerful, so it's not going to fall just straight away. But in any case, like I said, these games are all relatively similar, so what advice can you take from me if you're new to the games, or if you're looking forward to playing Rome 2 Total War, and maybe it's your first one, or maybe you just want to recall, always make sure you're up to date on unit statistics. Knowing the unit statistics is going to help you win battles, and it's also going to help you know when to choose your engagements, which engagements you might win and which you might lose. Now, of course, all of these unit statistics can be varied by several things, including weather, fatigue, morale, and also terrain positioning. All those things can factor in, but in general, it's good to know the statistics of your army. Now, that was a clear victory for me, but again, this is a new player, so I'm not trying to show this as like some kind of massive, like, I'm great or something. I just thought it was a good illustration of some possible noobish mistakes that you can make on this game or other Total War games. Now, let me show you the other battle, which is indeed very different. Okay, now we are out here on the African coast. You can see the Mediterranean out there. This is a fun map to play, and the reason I like this map is because there's a hill on deployment. Now, the defending player actually gets the better starting position. However, a lot of times players feel like they have to deploy in the center of the map because it's kind of typical. So a lot of times they'll deploy here, whereas I'd always deploy to my left on this one, so that if my opponent deploys center, I can steal the hill. If not, it gives your opponent kind of a fun advantage to fight against. This is another Carthage versus Macedon match. Now, I had a feeling here, last time I brought 5 units of infantry, this time I got a feeling that I should bring 6 and not bring any missile units. So I brought a rush army, and I figured that 6 units of Sacred Band pikes would overwhelm the enemy infantry quick enough that even if he gained a cavalry advantage, he wouldn't be able to use it. So that was the reason why I brought this particular rush army. It's just 4 Sacred Band Cav, gold, gold, 6 Sacred Band infantry, gold, gold. And I brought 2 units of pointy infantry with almost gold, gold upgrades. So this is an 8 infantry, 4 cav rush army, with the pointy infantry being meant to support my cavalry. Right off the bat, you can tell that my opponent is playing a much smarter game here in the Macedon versus Carthage. He knows that his infantry is inferior to my own, and so what he's done is he's brought a lot of good missiles. So he's got some archers with attack upgrades, and then he's got some royal pikes here. These royal pikes most likely have, like, I'm guessing some type of... it looks like these ones are at least gold, gold. So let's see. It might be experienced chevrons, though, because you're going to see these royal pikes, like, fighting like madmen. So that could be experienced chevrons, but we know at least they're up to a gold, gold standard, but it could be chevrons plus an upgrade, like he might have gone chevrons and then attack. And then let's take a look at his cavalry. He's got 4 units of companions, all gold, gold. Again, I think gold, gold. Could be some experience mixed in there. 1, 2, 3, yeah, so 1, 2, 3 on each side. And then he's also got a whole stack of light lancers here, 4 of those as well. And all of those have excellent upgrades. So he's got some very powerful cav, some very powerful missiles, and he's using a unit of peasants here to kind of distract. You can see his archers are already opening up on some of my men. I'm trying to keep my cav out of the range of his archers, and what I've done here is I've started a fight. I think that my guys are superior to his on one-on-one, so I'm only going to engage part of my force. And the attempt of this is so that my opponent can't make an immediate hammer and anvil if all my troops are engaged. So I've used my troops to cause a slight outflanking here, only engaging part of my force, and this leaves his cav at a slight disadvantage, except for the fact that I made a micro mistake, and he catches my Sacred Band on the hoof and routes a unit, and that is very, very bad for me. He also catches my pointy infantry out of formation and routes them, and now I'm in a really bad situation because he's got a giant horde of companions in my backfield, and I am in bad shape. My guys are getting wailed on. I'm trying to reinforce, but at this point it is just bad. So it's a good thing that I engaged the way I did, because again, my opponent can't cause any hammer and anvils. I made another foolish mistake here. Got my cav behind his lines and got them trapped. At this point, I should have just kept my cav near the protection of my spears, because what my opponent did here was extremely smart. He knew that his infantry wasn't going to win the fight, so he brought his cavalry and his missiles to compensate and didn't focus on infantry. So my opponent is a well-seasoned player here, by my guess, because he's brought such a smart army. Now, my opponent is, though, allowing me to defeat his infantry here. So what this is now is it's a battle of time. I've sacrificed my cav foolishly, and my opponent is sacrificing his infantry. So now it behooves me to finish off his infantry with haste, because I need to have as many men left as possible to survive the incoming missile barrage and the cavalry assault. As many of you may remember, and you can go back in my favorites, I actually lost a battle to the Prince of Macedon in this very way. My infantry clobbered his, but I did not have enough men left after the infantry fight to survive his waves of missiles and cavalry. So I find myself in a very similar position at this point, so I'm doing everything I can to finish off his men as quickly as possible. So my goal right now is I have to take out his infantry, and I have to do so quickly while his cav is still distracted and far away. Over here, I go for his archers and peasants, trying to knock these guys out and get them out of the way, just to get them out of my hair. However, I'm making another mistake here. These guys are separated from the rest of the fold, and they're taking a lot of archer fire, which is going to be very dangerous as they're going to be prone to routing, and they can get surrounded by cavalry. My opponent starts to retreat some of his pikes. Very smart move here, bring them back to the protection of the rest of their supporting troops, but it allows this unit to become even more singled out, and you can see that they're kind of reforming, and I'm continuing to surround them. His companion cav is gone and not able to participate in a hammer and anvil, and he is not micromanaging his lancers at the moment to effectively challenge my pikes. However, my opponent is going to make good on that mistake by bringing his companions back from their excursion. I do turn my Sacred Band to try and face these guys, but remember that my guys are taking archer fire from all around. I did not get them into phalanx formation. They take a pretty painful charge from that companion cav, and then look at the archer fire pouring in here. These guys are just getting soaked, and that's going to take their morale up, and you can see there that they're now shaken, and my opponent is now going to complete the encirclement, and here goes an expensive, very important unit of Sacred Band pikes that is just going to rout. So do not make the foolish mistake I did here. When you end up in the situation that I am, do not single out your guys. Keep them grouped together. Once you've lost your mobility, keep your men grouped together. This is going to help you avoid that very thing happening. So here you can see me making good on my promise to get rid of his infantry. He's only got one unit left, and this unit regrouped out here. So I am quickly destroying his infantry, and you can see that I'm keeping pike units in strategic locations, though, to keep hammer and anvil assaults from being effective. And of course, when you're attacking multiple units, I can always redirect a unit to attack the incoming cav. And I'm not really losing here because I'm attacking him from his flank. I do believe that I forgot to take my guys out of guard formation, though, which is a mistake here, because they would have completed this defeat a lot faster had I taken them out of guard formation. But one way or the other, I was able to rout his royal pikes, and now it becomes a grinding game here. My opponent is going to be unleashing wave after wave of missiles on me, and the best he can do is to make sure and target my guys that have my backs facing him. He's also making one kind of smart move here too, which is to target my general. He figures that if he can kill my general, it's going to lower the morale of my men and possibly give him a morale victory in which all my men were rout. This is a very big possibility, so not necessarily a bad move, but remember that by wasting all these missiles on one unit, you're not cutting down any of the other units. So it is a gamble. The gamble is kill my general and possibly win off that, or the gamble is wear down my other troops and possibly win off that, because it does take a lot of arrows to kill a general. The computer doesn't just give you that type of kill easily. And then when you're firing a whole lot of missiles at one man, you got to consider whether or not it's worth it. So you can see there that he's taking hit after hit, while I'm going to continue chasing his archers. So see, I'm trying to chase these archers off station. And then look, here comes an incoming cav assault. He charges my general because he gets sick of trying to kill him with his bows. And finally does kill my general. So my general gets charged in a brutal cav assault. There's his corpse there on the ground. So kudos to him. Very patchy-like death. I am making another mistake here. I think, oh, I can chase off his horses, but once again, my guys start getting soaked with arrows, get surrounded, and immediately rout. So that's twice that Eris made that mistake. So at this point, the battle is looking extremely grim for me. My opponent has a lot of advantages, but here he does make a mistake. He blobs his men onto my Sacred Band, and I'm able to turn around. These Sacred Band were not very well fixed by these Royal Pikes because there wasn't many of them. And you better believe that if you want to get your cavalry slaughtered, charge them into a Sacred Band unit that's ready for you, because I promise you they will get slaughtered. About the only way that they can get slaughtered any worse is if you charge them into, oh, I don't know, like a Spartan unit or something. So he loses a great deal of cavalry right there. But however, I would still say that this battle is very much to his advantage. His archers still have ammunition. However, some of them are probably running low at this point. And at this point, Heir has to make a decision that he doesn't like, but it's my only option. If I stand here and let those archers surround me, I'm going to get absolutely destroyed. So I'm going to make a run for a more protected spot, which in this case is kind of the red line. Now I'm not going to go back here and just line up completely in the corner, but I am going to run pretty far back here. And that's to try and keep his archers from being able to outflank me. So no, I'm not going to go clear back in the corner, but yes, I am going to get close. Some of you will probably get really mad. Heir, you're a corner camper. Well, I mean, I don't really have an option. I'm going to lose the battle if I don't do something here. So I am trying to salvage this, but like I said, not to be an absolute jerk, I'm not just going to line up my guys from line to line. I will leave a little space. My guys are in loose formation, which is going to help minimize the arrow fire, and since I'm running, his archers are going to have to run to catch up, which means that I won't take too many shots to the back. This would be very risky if he had horse archers, because he could follow me the whole way and continue to shoot me in the back. But you can see he is going to take some shots at me, but the loose formation is going to help, and then as soon as my men turn around, they can use their shield to help protect from the arrow fire. So, what should I have done, you know, in my Mastering Prince of Macedon? I should have gone into the woods and gone into loose formation. It's possible that I could have survived at that point, not a guarantee. So obviously, he definitely took advantage of the fact that I did not make that move, and he won that battle. So I'm looking to not repeat the same thing here. But again, you can see the battle is looking pretty grim for me here, so we'll see how it turns out. I am going to fast forward for just a second. At this point, I type a message to my opponent to let him know, hey, I'm not going all the way back into the corner. Go ahead and shoot your arrows, and you know, we'll see how it turns out. So I basically told him, hey, I'm going to stand still. You unload your arrows, and we'll just see how this goes. And at that point, he types a message to me that was very interesting. I'm not going to tell you what that message said quite yet. But in any case, you can see he's charging his archers right towards me, and the reason he's doing that is because the message he typed to me said, only one of my archer units has arrows left, and you can tell that because these guys have their daggers out. So fortunately for me, he did run out of ammunition, so now I'm going to quickly pull my men back into tight formation, get into phalanx formation. My men are a little bit more spread out than they should be, but fortunately his cav has not yet outflanked me, which means he attacked just a little too early with his archers. Now I can redirect my Sacred Band pikes into his cav, and at this point it is completely too late. Heir gets extremely lucky here and pulls a victory from the throes of defeat. I made sure to say good game to my opponent. My opponent here has a very clever army for Carthage versus Macedon. You should definitely take notice of his army. There was a few micro mistakes he made, some that I made, and just really a little bit of luck threw it my direction. But this is definitely a potent army of Macedon to go against Carthage, and used properly, it would definitely help you seize a victory. Good game to my opponent. Hope you enjoyed these. Happy New Year. I will be back with more videos soon. HeirofCarthage signing out for now.